Elisha was in charge of a group of prophets. One day, when they were cutting down trees to make a new dwelling, the head of one man's axe fell into the water. "Alas," he cried, "I was borrowing it." Then Elisha threw a stick into the water, and amazingly, the iron axe head floated up and the man could take it back out. While the Syrians were at war with the Israelites, Elisha kept finding out the king of Syria's plans and telling the king of Israel. The king of Syria was greatly troubled, and his servants told him it was Elisha the prophet who knew what the king said in secret. So the king sent horses, chariots, and a great army to the city where Elisha was to catch him. When Elisha's servant went out in the morning and saw the great army, he said, "Alas, what shall we do?" "Do not be afraid," said Elisha. "Those who are with us are more than those who are against us." And the Lord opened the servant's eyes, and he saw horses and chariots of fire all around Elisha, the angel armies of the Lord. When the Syrians started approaching, Elisha prayed, "Please strike them with blindness." The Lord did so, and Elisha led them away to Samaria. Then Elisha asked the Lord to make them see again. When their eyes were opened, there they were in the middle of Samaria. Elisha told the king of Israel not to strike the Syrians down, but to give them a feast and let them go back, and the Syrians stopped raiding Israel. But later, Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, surrounded Samaria with his whole army. Soon there wasn't enough food for the people to eat there, and the king found out that terrible things were being done. He blamed Elisha, who'd let the Syrians go free, and wanted to kill him. Elisha knew what the king wanted to do, but he told the king's captain that flour and barley would be sold again tomorrow. There were 4 lepers by the gate to Samaria, and they decided to go into the Syrian camp and ask for food. But when they got to the camp, there was no one there. The Lord had made the Syrians hear the sound of a great army. They thought it was the Egyptians and the Hittites, and they ran away, leaving all their animals and food behind. The lepers found the food, as well as silver and gold and clothing, and reported this to the city. And once the king had made sure that the Syrians really had gone, the people came out, and flour and barley were sold, just like Elisha had said. Elisha had warned the woman whose son he had raised about the coming famine, so she went to live with the Philistines. When the famine was over, the woman came back and asked the king for her house and her land. The king was listening to Gehazi at the time, Elisha's servant, who told him how Elisha had raised the woman's son to life. Then the king restored to her all that had been hers. Elisha came to Damascus, where King Ben-Hadad was sick. The king sent a man called Hazael to ask Elisha whether he'd get better. Elisha said he wouldn't die of the sickness, but he would still die. He started weeping and said he knew that Hazael would become the new king, but would do many wicked things. Then Hazael went back to Ben-Hadad and killed him, and Hazael became king, just like Elisha had said. This shows us the greatness of God's power. He made iron float, blinded an army, and saved a city from famine by his wonder-working might. And it shows us the greatness of God's knowledge. He knew the king's secret plans and how Hazael would kill him, and revealed it all to Elisha. And it shows us the greatness of God's loving care. He protected Elisha with an angel army, and protected the woman from the famine. There is no one greater than the Lord.